Hey, guys and gals, welcome to another episode of Comics and Sweet Tea. We've got a great show planned for you tonight. An exceptional guest, as always. Um, hey, welcome back. Hope you had a good week. Really appreciate you taking the time out to hang out with us. Um, Big news, just finished up the book today, just a while ago, as a matter of fact. We'll be going over final edits and hopefully get that thing off to the printer tomorrow. To get the proofs ordered and get started on all that. Um, for all you guys that backed, thank you again. Can't thank you enough for all the just everything you guys did, from sharing to backing the book. You guys have been absolutely incredible. If you're new to the show, be sure and subscribe. Tell a friend. Um, hey, give us a thumbs up. If you've got a question for me or my guest tonight, just be sure and drop that in the chat. And hey, we'll get it answered for you. Without further ado, because I know you're tired of hearing me rambling on, awesome creator, award winning book, David Yu, talking his book, Total Party Killer. So let's bring in David without further ado, and you can hear him ramble a little bit instead of me.
Hey there,
David,
Jerry.
thank you so much for coming on tonight, man.
Absolutely. Excited to ramble about comics as usual,
Oh, God, yeah, man. I mean, I could talk comics for days on end. I know that without a shadow of a doubt, whether it be comics in general, art, comic series, comic movies. I mean, my God, it never ends, and I absolutely love it. What a great time we're living in.
Oh yeah, and there's something for everybody. Like no matter what your background or what your flavor is, there's always something. Because I was actually I was just at the Toronto Comics Arts Festival this weekend, and it's just amazing how you can like maybe there's something that you're just you can find anything now basically whatever flavor you want, and it's like it's a great time for comics.
Exactly. There's so much out there. Well, man, tell me about this award winner. I've looked at your post. I've got to pick the book up because it looks absolutely incredible. Tell me all about Total Party Killer, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Total Party Killer. It's actually my debut book, my first published comic. So I was pretty excited to get that out the door. But yeah, it's basically inspired by my kind of experience playing role playing games. I don't know if you, Jerry, play much like D&D or anything like that before.
I always wanted to try it, man. I always wanted to try.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's fun. It's fun, and I was kind of combining my two passions there. So like role playing games and comics together, and usually you kind of think of them being kind of like we're gonna have a fun little jaunt around doing a fantasy adventure. But whenever I've played it, they're pretty bloody and they're pretty vicious, and everyone's actively trying to like hamstring each other, and it's like it's a lot closer to like a Tarantino movie than it is Lord of the
Right.
Rings. And so that's the kind of flavor that I wanted to bring to it, is to take a fantasy story and make it almost feel like a little more of a crime edge and a little bit more grotesque than the usual fantasy direction. So yeah, that's kind of where the nugget of Total Party Killer came from. Is I wanted to like give it that sort of twist. But yeah, like it was my first published book, so I was pretty excited that the response it got, and yeah, I'm happy how people took the book.
Right, right. So tell me this: the story. I mean, are you? How long of an arc are you planning on doing, or is this going to be an ongoing series with no end in the future, or are you just? Is it a finite thing, or you know?
So
Talk
Total Party
about that.
Killer is, yeah, it's a one shot book right now, like as of
Gotcha.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Okay.
actually the whole story is you're gonna get the whole thing in one
Gotcha.
book.
Okay.
So it's like it's 64 pages, so it's a big one shot. But I do have like some ideas where to take it afterwards, because I honestly, the reason I did it this way is, yeah, like I said, my first book, so I was like, I wanted to scope it so I could like tell a full story and, you know, kind of
Right.
work from that way, and like kind of leave room if I wanted to, like, you know, expand it beyond there. But that was my initial goal, was just like get a comic out and make it work on its own, you know.
I got you. And trades are so popular right now. I think
Yeah.
manga is really kind of paved the way for that. People, you know, I mean, I won't say serial books are going away, but I will say there's more of a push towards trades. You know, people want to finite stories. So, I mean, you struck gold with that right out of the gate. So that was, you know, that was a one up.
Yeah,
Um,
no, definitely. Like I know my first kind of comic experience was I got in through Shonen Jump, and getting like the you know, like the big North American compendium, which was like every month like 300 pages of comics, and that's what I read as a kid, because I could just be like, you know, get the whole wad of story all at once. And that's kind of how I you know, took comics. I never really was a big monthly guy. I would always be like, yeah, just give me
yeah.
the trade. You know.
A lot of people feel that way. I've always been more of the monthly guy. I enjoy it, man. It's like an episode of the week type thing. I like the trades too. Don't get me wrong. I like to sit down and read a story from beginning to end. But something about the serials, I guess it just hooked me, man. One of the first books that I ever got was a serial, so I guess you go with what you know, and that's you always find that it when you pick a book up like that, it always takes you back to that first book in some way, you know. How does it feel knowing that you've got something out there that could move somebody that way, you know?
Oh, it's great. That's what I do this for, you know. Like I wanna, you know, tell a story, make a piece of work that people, you know, that people react to in any way, you know.
Right.
But that's, yeah, that's why I do it. And I think that's why most comic creators do it, you know. It's just to get the reaction, get people, you know, invested in the story, and then make kind of, you know, make the impression with it. Like actually, what you were saying before earlier about having monthly compared to like trades, like I almost feel like it's kind of like when you have it going monthly, you know, it ruminates with you more, and it's kind of like, you know, when you watch like Netflix, and it's like you know, you want the binge model, or do you want the weekly? And I find like, you know,
Yeah.
when you can pace it out like every week, then you kind of, you know, it leaves more of a mark for sure. I think. Like I think that's the advantage for sure. But also there's the other side of just being impatient, just wanting to just like fast through the story.
Right, right. So, did you self-publish or did you actually get a publisher for this? I
I
mean,
did, yeah. I got a publisher through Scout Comics. They're the ones who took up the book, and they were like they were actually pretty great with it, because I basically came to them with the book done, and because like I didn't like pitch it in the sense of having it as a, you know, first 10 pages done or so. Like because I was actually, I first started work on it like kind of like in the middle of the pandemic, I guess, and I was
yeah,
like I wanted to just make the story, and like and just do it for myself. And if someone is like happy to take it up, then great, you know. So I came to them with like a fully made thing, and they just went thumbs up, and then we just moved forward with it, which is, you know, the best reaction, because I wanted to, you know, like in any case I would have got it out, but just the fact that they, like, you know, just went for it, like I definitely appreciate that.
I got you, man. Um, Comics in general. What kind of tell me what got you into comics? Did you get into comics as a kid, or did it just kind of? I know some people. Everybody has their own experience. You know, some people just come in their teens. Some people come in as a child. Some people, you know, so on and so forth. Tell me about your first experience with comics.
Sure. So my family, like my dad especially, like he was like big into comics in like the '60s. Like he had, like, you know, like
Oh
true
wow!
vintage X-Men comics,
Oh
like,
wow!
you know,
Yeah.
from the, I think he said he had like a copy of like the debut of the Juggernaut, like all these, like, you know, like, you know,
That's crazy.
the good stuff. But in terms of my comic experience, I was always around it, you know, and I was aware of it because yeah, like my dad was definitely like big into like doing it all now. We still watch comic movie stuff together pretty often. And yeah, my whole family, they've all been very, very nerd friendly, I'd say. But in terms of my personal experience with comics, it's funny because it's not a comics experience in that when I was a
Okay.
kid, there's this card game Yu-Gi-Oh
Yeah,
that I was
yeah.
big into as a kid. Yeah, yeah, and like there's this is back to Shonen Jump. The first issue of Shonen Jump, they're brilliant because they were like, if you get this first volume, it comes with a free Yu-Gi-Oh card, like a rare variant Blue Eyes White Dragon, and like 12-year-old me is like, all right, I gotta get that because I need to get this like rare card, and
Right,
I don't care about the rest of it because I was like, you know, I just want to get the card, and then I was like, might as well look at the book, you know, like I
right.
have it, why not? We paid for it, and then so I was like flipping through, and I was like, you know what, I can get in on this, and then my mom got me a subscription for like a solid 3 years, and like like back to back me as a kid, and so like yeah, like that kind of just like doused me into it. Like my roots of comics are definitely manga. I got into like Western comics more when I was like a teenager, but like early on, I was like even now, I have I have all those Shonen Jumps when I was a kid in this like aggressive giant pile like of however many volumes of that is. But that's how I started. And started like I love One Piece, Shaman King. Those are the big ones. I kind of got into eventually, you know, more classic Batman stuff later. But yeah, that was my start. It was not for me seeking comics. It was for seeking a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
And I tell you that that's awesome though, because I think more American artists and collectors in general, they need to try manga out because it's such an experience. I mean, it really is. My way into manga and anime was like Akira and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah,
Ghost
yeah,
in the
classic.
Shell, Astro Boy. Later on, my daughter's huge into the stuff. She introduced me to Tokyo Ghoul and all that kind of stuff. And I remember looking at those books, man, and the artist on those. I mean, to start with, wasn't the best art. Not knocking the guy, but as it went on, the same artist stayed on it. I think pretty much the whole time,
Yeah.
and just watching his progression. I mean, from beginning to end was absolutely incredible. Watching his style develop and the incredible artist that he became in the latter books. I mean, it just goes to show you got to start somewhere. You can't beat yourself up if the work's not exactly what you want it to be. You have to get the work out there and just continue the work, and it'll develop. It'll become what you want it to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I remember seeing too, like if I jump to like the earliest volume and how much like maybe like too much effort was put into like just the amount of detail and like making
Right,
every
right.
page like that, and maybe not the most efficient way to draw the comic. And then when you like jump like 2 years in the volume, you see like, oh, now they got it all down. Now the characters like refined and like perfect, and
Yeah.
like it flows much better. Like it's a yeah, it's you have to just take that first step, and like you know like even when I was working on Total Party Killer, I was like I was keeping it consistent to how I first drew it, but I was like, okay, now I know next time I'm definitely not going to try it this way, or you know, like
Right,
probably better to
right.
do it, plan it out this way next time. You know, it's always just you know, it's iterative, but at the same time, like you have to be willing to like you know adapt and transform just to make the book better. And the next, you know,
Right, right.
it's a process. It's a process.
Yeah, you tend to find the style that works for you, the one that's the most time conducive. I'm not time conducive, but the one that makes things speed along. That's what you
Yeah,
tend to fall into, or I seem to fall into. And but anyway, kind of what walk me through your process as far as going through a page. I mean, were you a thumbnail guy? You use the Marvel method? Kind of take us through all of that.
Well, I definitely, when I first started the book, um, because I wrote and drew it, so I had it all like laid out and plotted out like on a basic script.
Right.
But as I started drawing it, like I realized when I was like thumbnailing it and like the first few pages, I was like, this isn't working for me because I needed the immediate gratification of having art done. And
Right.
so
Right.
because it's just for my own sake, because I'm since I'm working on both, like I'm working on the art and the colors and everything, I can do that luckily. So I was like, I wanted to be able to get a completed panel out each time. And I did lay it out in terms of like I had like an iPad and just like, scritched up. I was always willing to like edit it and as I was going along just because I wanted to, just
Gotcha.
like be able to adapt. And like sometimes I look at something, I'm like as I'm moving along, I'm like, I think I could do this better if I change this up. And like there's when I look back at the first script, like it's pretty different from the book. The general beats are the same. Like I knew what I wanted to hit, but then I made some like even some things as I'm feeling the story as I'm drawing. I'm like, I think if I tweak this way as opposed to like in the script, it's almost like me kind of like editing myself, being like, you could have done this better next time. And I know that definitely a process like that would probably be pretty painful to work on a team because like yeah, I wouldn't want the the colors
Yeah.
being like, hey, can we change this whole thing? Like, um
Yeah.
but if it's just me doing it, it's fine. But yeah, that was my process. Like I needed, like I had a rhythm like as I was working because because actually I at the time I worked in games and now I work at a toy company.
Okay.
But I basically want to get just a panel out a day and just keep that pace going until a book is done, essentially.
Wow. That's incredible, man. Um, Going through that process, something had grabbed me and something that you said, or uh, when you're going through it, you said you make changes, and don't you love how when you're going through there, uh, working on your book, how it becomes its own thing. It's kind of an organic process, you know. You go in with a certain mindset and this certain vision, and it's amazing. I find it as you're going through, it kind of takes on a life of its own. You know, it kind of becomes its own thing. You know, as you're going through it, and things tend to change. It's to meet the flow and to get the right vibe and just to get everything in sync.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel also too, sometimes your plan, your intention doesn't match how you actually react to it when you see it. And I feel like
Right.
having that like having that self feedback essentially. Like I remember like reading like finishing a certain page and like looking at it and just thinking how it was planned on the page and seeing like this works for me, but I think that how I'm feeling now, if I did this next thing instead of what I plotted, it'd be a level up to essentially. And I wouldn't have seen that before in my planning stages unless I just looked at the work and have been like, I can step this up. Like
Right. Right.
I could make it better, but like I need, it's like self feedback. Like I mean, also my wife saw every single page that I was going through, and so I'd get her like also as well. She'd see everything as I'm going along. I'd be like, what do you think of that? And then like and like luckily I had her for feedback as well because she was a huge help and like like
Yeah.
the awareness of it all because yeah, like it's yeah, you don't know how a reaction is going to be until like like there's someone else to see the page or like even your own, like they need to see the work. Looking at words on a page isn't enough, it has to be the comic.
Right. Right. Because there's so much that the one thing I love about the medium in general, because there's so much you could say without one single word. You know, just the whole process of storytelling with the art. There's so much you can do, and you don't need a word there. You know, just by a look or a glance or just there's so many little ways that you can change so much just with the art.
Yeah, and the space between panels as well, because there's so much
Right.
unsaid between one panel to the other, and it's even like different from like animation or film. It's just like it's like there's there's so much just between two images. There's so much that can imply, and there's so much to be done with like comics that like you can play around with, and I love that about it because you can get like really creative with how you want to convey a story because
Right.
visually there's rules, but there's also kind of no rules, and there's kind of if it
Exactly. Yeah.
and like it's kind of if it works, that's the rule.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the main thing. It doesn't matter what it takes to get you there. It's getting there. That's that's the total thing. Yeah. So tell me this, total party killer. Um, if you could turn, say Netflix or Amazon comes knocking on the door, would you rather this be an animated series, a live action series, maybe a live action movie? Which route would you go with Total Party Killer?
I think probably animated would be the best for it because there's just some things that I feel are just like visual cues with cartooning that like as much as I love live action adaptations of things, like just I think there's a visual spice with like
Yeah.
animation. I actually have an animation background, so I'm a bit
Oh
biased.
wow.
I studied animation. Actually, this right over here that is a cell from the '90s X-Men classic.
That's
Um,
awesome, man.
from so this is that was actually a congratulatory present when I got into animation from my mom. She gave me that
Really
cell.
cool.
So I
Yeah,
have
that's really
yeah,
cool, man.
the Bishop, and I think that's Gambit pinned to the ground by Bishop. But yeah, I have a background in animation, and so I definitely have a big bias towards that for sure. And it definitely it informs how I draw everything, like my like from the littlest things, such as like even my concepting, like it's all part of like my visual language, I'd say.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I mean, just like we were just talking about with comics, I mean, animation pretty much the same way. I mean, there's a lot more work that goes into it, but it's pretty much sky's the limit as to what you can do with it, and do it well. And I mean, there's certain things in live action that you'll never achieve in live action that you could reach in animation, without near the money, whatever you can imagine, you can draw and you can make it happen, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like Spider Verse and all that is like such a like a
Amazing,
testament to that.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's to me like I was like that's what if you just keep pushing animation to like its limits and like I remember it just like blew my mind because like yeah, there's like beautiful animated movies out there, but like that was one where I was like, oh, they're like pushing what you can do with animation, and like I hugely appreciate that, and like kind of bring comic language into like animation itself is just like I mean I could go on and on about Spider Verse as everybody
Those
has.
movies are incredible, man.
Yeah.
They're absolutely incredible. Those set the bar for animation. They really did. I tell you, just like we talked about a golden age with comics, I think we're in a golden age of animation as well. You talked about Spider Verse. You've got stuff like Invincible. You've got Blue Eyed Samurai. You've got
Yeah.
all these incredible pieces out there, man, that are not just aimed at kids. I mean, they're very adult, very mature, and I mean they're really taking it to new heights. And it's just an amazing time we live in.
Yeah, and I like stop motion animation. I love too. Like I feel like it's also just like 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 for me, it's like one of my favorite mediums to just watch. Like, have you seen Phil Tippett's Mad God from a couple years back?
I've heard about that. I haven't seen
Yeah,
it, but yeah, I'm gonna have to
it's
check that out
wild.
because you're not the first person to tell me about that.
Yeah, it's wild. I actually saw it like late last year, and I was just like, whoa, like that's it's crazy. Like, and also it's the same kind of thing because it's I think it was Phil Tippett and a very small team but like it's just a crazy mixed mediums of just yeah, like I love seeing any if it's comics or animation or film, whatever, like kind of just mixing kind of like the rules and like the languages of whatever medium it's in. Like it's great. Love that movie. Definitely recommend it. It's
Got
crazy and
it.
it's gross. Just to warn you, like it's,
Oh,
but it is
I'm totally
interesting.
fine with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
definitely have to check it out. Is it more of a stop motion type thing, or is it just kind of a mixture of all of it together?
Stop motion, traditional animation, live action. It's
Wow,
just it's everything. Yeah,
this is just a big old hodgepodge of all of it.
yeah,
I would, yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
yeah, yeah. Definitely recommend.
So, tell me this. You said you're married. Balance. How did you find yourself trying to balance, working on the comic, life, your family, work? How did that go? Walk us through that.
Yeah, that's a great question because that's such a the big thing about being a creative of any kind is like you also have to kind of be a person as well as be
Right.
be a
Yeah,
creative.
it's tough to find that balance, man.
Yeah, totally. I feel that my best time, like actually my wife and I have a great kind of in terms of our sleep schedules. It works perfect because I'm a morning person and I get up very
Yeah.
early. That's
Right.
how I do it. Like how I get up,
I
get
got
up,
you.
get up at 6:30, draw for a while, maybe take out the dog and have a coffee, and then my wife gets up and then we have our day pretty much. I have
Okay.
a little sliver of time in the morning. That's when I do it, and so maybe I get a little less sleep than everybody else, but that's been doing it for me so far. Is I have my little window, and I like to I feel like I work the best like right as I get up. Like
Oh,
if
same here.
like
Totally
yeah
agree with that. Yeah.
yeah it's 8:30 where I am now, and like I could not work on any comic stuff right now. I'd be like nah.
No, yeah.
No,
I,
the
I
day's done.
totally get that. I'm more of a morning person myself. I like to jump on it. Uh, Shoot, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I get up, you know, have some fruit or something like that. Do my thing, play with the dog a little bit, and then jump
Yep,
on the comic.
yep,
And,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
just, I'm laser focused first thing in the day. I'm like you. Towards the end of the day, I'm like, I've had enough. I'm burnt. You know.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's because so like my wife, she also is in arts animation, so like she also completely gets it. So which is also probably the benefit too, is
Oh
that
wow, yeah,
like so
definitely.
she knows exactly like I know what you're doing. So like she's extremely fine with like me doing my own thing, and like she totally understands it. That's why also she was like very important for my comic because for Total Party Killer because she was like my soundboard for like everything because she understands like like
Gotcha.
like she's also she knows art and she's a big help for everything, and I'm very lucky that way.
That's incredible, man. That's a rare thing.
Yeah, very nurturing environment to keep
Yeah,
working on your own stuff.
gotcha, gotcha. Well, do you have plans for any more projects? I know you talked about possibly spinning off from Total Party Killer, but do you have anything else that you kind of got up your sleeve on the back burner that you're kind of no spoilers. If you don't want to tell us, don't tell us. But if you do, hey, feel free.
Absolutely, yeah. So next week there will probably be an announcement about just a short comic I worked on for an anthology for Tales from the Dispatch. I know there'll be an announcement next
Yeah,
week about that.
gotcha. Yeah.
So that's something that's coming down the pipe. I have after that though, I have a few stories that I've been like mostly ruminating on and very very early, just winding up towards, but like nothing really to show for it just yet, but I'm excited for like I have a few stories that I want to try my hand at, and definitely um, more of a scope than Total Party Killer, because it was kind of an experiment for me.
Right.
I wanted just to see what I could do with comics, and I wanted to, kind of know my own limits of how to improve for the next thing. So I want to try something that's a bit bigger a scope.
Gotcha.
But just for the immediate future, yeah, next week, we'll be hearing something soon. I'll definitely make
Okay,
it.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely stay tuned because I'm curious, and I'm gonna have to get on Scout's website and pick up your trade, man. Because I mean, everything that I've seen on your page, it looks absolutely incredible. I love the style. I love the vivid colors. The story just really looks intriguing. So I mean, it seems like it's something just right up my alley. So I'm definitely gonna have to get in there and get that order and check that out.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, yeah.
So, man, I think I've taken up enough of your time. I really appreciate you coming on. I can't say it enough. Thank you for your time. Uh, pitch your stuff, man. Tell them where to follow you, where to get your book. And guys, I don't have it in the description yet, but I will find the link to his book, and I will have that down in the description here shortly, where you can go and support David and check out his awesome book.
Yeah, you can follow me at David U Draws. I'm most active on Instagram, but all my social medias are all David U Draws. So if you Google that, you'll find me there, all one word. Total Party Killer, yeah, you can find at scoutcomics.com, or you can get it on Amazon/Comixology. You can find it all there. Yeah, that's basically me.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, David. Best of luck with your upcoming projects, man. Really enjoyed just having a chat with you. Um, guys, that's the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. That's a wrap. Until next week, hey, give us a thumbs up, drop a comment. If you're watching the show later on, be sure, if you got a question for David, be sure to pop it in there and I can get with David and we'll get you an answer. So just because it's not live, don't think we can't get your questions answered. So feel free to drop in here anytime you watch this and drop a comment. Anyway, we've held on to you guys long enough. I've taken up enough of David's time. Hope you guys have a great night. That's the show.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, David.
Have a good one.